Sometimes you need to scorch everything to the ground and start over. After the burning, the soil is richer and new things can grow. People are like that too. They start over, they find a way. Little Fires Everywhere is Celeste Ng's second novel, releasing back in 2017. This book was a New York Times bestseller, Amazon's second best book and best fiction book of 2017. She grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Shaker Heights, Ohio, which is where this novel takes place. She graduated from Harvard University and is a recipient of the Pushcart Prize Fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts. She tells a story of how a single mother and her daughter, who have lived a very free and abstract way of living, must now conform to the strict guidelines that this new town they moved to follows. The perfectly organized streets and identical white houses that seem like strip farms when driven by fast. The mandatory curfews and everyday restrictions that kept the town in place and stiff. Her daughter, Pearl, gradually forms a close relationship with the children of the Richardsons family, and her subtle growth from adolescence to teenage years from the hope of these kids is displayed perfectly. Throughout the novel, problems come up. The custody of an Asian American child is taken to court, and close friends from both Mia and the mother of the Richardsons family are on opposing sides of this case. This causes the close-knit relationship between the two to become a large gap, and motivates Alina, the mother of the Richardsons, to blackmail Mia using her mysterious past as a tool. Izzy, the most rebellious child of the Richardsons family, is tired of living a planned-out life and burns the house down, then runs away from home. Mia and her daughter Pearl follow the same path they came from and continue as nomads as well, leaving a trail of calamity for the small town. All her life, she had learned that passion, like fire, was a dangerous thing. It so easily went out of control. It scaled walls and jumped over trenches. Sparks leapt like fleas and spread as rapidly. A breeze could carry embers for miles. Better to control that spark and pass it carefully from one generation to the next, like an Olympian torch. Or perhaps to tend it carefully like an eternal flame. A reminder of light and goodness that could never, set anything ablaze. Carefully controlled, domesticated, happy in captivity. The key, she thought, was to avoid conflagration. This book reminded me a lot of those old style movies with this use of imagery, like Stand By Me, My Girl, or even The Goonies. That's because those movies mainly focus around friendship and growing up with friends, and this book emphasizes on that a lot in the beginning and even in the end. In the middle of the book, when the case comes up with the little girl, it reminded me a lot of those criminal justice movies or shows, and even books like To Kill a Mockingbird. It gave off a very serious and intense atmosphere when it came to that section. If I had to rate this book 1 through 10, I give it either an 8 or a 9. The story's pretty good, character development is also really good, and the language the writer uses, Celeste Ng, she uses a very personal way of writing, and some people might relate to it more, since the story's about having to restart fresh and moving to new places that you don't feel comfortable in. This novel was an empathetic, heartwarming, and motherly themed book that captures its readers through emotion, spreading awareness of the dangers of believing that following the rules will eventually avert disaster.